Hey everyone, this is Drifford speaking for Gamerside, and today I'm very happy to, not be showing you The Last of Us Part 1, as although this is a video that is dedicated to The Last of Us Part 1, and that is supposed to be my English review for the game, I wanted to start with the original The Last of Us, rather the remaster. I'm playing on PlayStation 5 now, but it's the remaster. And I wanted to start like this, basically because it's I think it's the best way for you to, if you haven't checked oh come on, if you haven't checked my other videos, it's the best way to see the visual difference and differences, I might say, even though by today's standards it's true that the original game still looks very, very good. Now, maybe not good enough for everyone, and that's actually is a discussion we're going to have, is who is The Last of Us Part 1 for? But say if you've never really played The Last of Us back in 2013 or 2014 because you were too young or not interested, but suddenly you are interested in the game, this is obviously going to be maybe a bit harder to play this version on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, because yeah, sure, it does look good, but it does not look as modern as The Last of Us Part 2. And what Naughty Dog wanted to do with this remake was to bring The Last of Us Part 1 to The Last of Us Part 2 in terms of visuals. So there's more coherence in a way, there's more harmony between the two games, and for those discovering the games today, those who want to play The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 in a row, they feel it's just the same story and there's nothing that looks different about it. So I wanted to start with this section for different reasons. The first reason is, back in the days when I reviewed the game on PlayStation 3, because yes, at the time I already was reviewing games on Gamerside. I think I've been doing this for more than 15 years now, and so at the time we had a preview build of the game on PlayStation 3, and this was the section that was shown, the arrival in Lincoln, and the reason was because it was actually possible to see exploration, combat, and some scripted sequences too, and there are also a few things that differ in the remake. It's not going to be, oh no, come on, it's not what I meant to do. It's not going to be very huge differences in terms of gameplay. Nothing changes really, as we'll see. But in the way things maybe look, and I don't just mean the visuals, and I mean the way things work also, in terms of exploration, it's obviously a lot closer to Part 2, even though Part 2 took a lot from The Last of Us, and so it's I mean, you feel right at home even when you play the remaster. So this is not going to change. They've remained very faithful to the original game in the remake, and you see that both visually and in terms of gameplay. And so I think it's the way it should be. Now, obviously, some might regret that there are not subtle changes to gameplay, so that they could have done things like in the Resident Evil remake, where they added like the possibility to defend yourself with grenades when you were grabbed by a zombie, and it did not make the Resident Evil 1 experience any different, even if you could do that. So some might actually say that it's a shame they did not go further in a way, but as I will say probably a bit later when we play this section on PlayStation 5, I mean, you can't be complaining about the fact that they're losing time, air quotes, on a remake instead of, finishing their future projects, and at the same time, we request them to add things that would have required more time and money and more people, and that would have delayed their ongoing projects. So this is the arrival in Lincoln, and it was actually very, very impressive at the time, but also that I had a few complaints, and I remember that I mentioned that in my preview. I don't remember if I actually did a written English preview, but in the French one there was no way to see through the windows, the car windows, or the windshield, and which it made sense at the time with the tech, but it was a bit disappointing. Also, the fact that you could see aliasing a bit too much to my liking, because the environments were much larger than in Uncharted, so it did not look as impressive visually as in some aspects as Uncharted 2 or 3, and I was a bit disappointed in a way. No, I had my mind blown by the game. It's one of my most favorite games ever. It's one of the few recent games I've completed a few times. Usually I don't have the time for this, so it's really a game I love. I love the game, the world, the story, the characters, and I think the gameplay mechanics work perfectly. The loot system, the fact that you have to save ammo, the fact that you have to look for things, to look for ammo, look for things to craft, and everything that was, for me, that made a lot more sense than in other games, and it's really a game that I truly love. But let's switch to the PS5 version, if you will, because I think that's what you've come here for, and I wouldn't want to disappoint you. The same window, but different time of day for the Last of Us Part 1, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Go to Billstown and the woods, play in hard mode. There's a difference in the save system here that I should mention. If you have friends that come over and you've progressed into the game, but you want to go back to an early chapter, be sure to manually save your progression before you do that, because the game does not ask you to choose a save slot like before, and it will actually erase your progress. So say you're at the end of the game, you want to go back to Lincoln and show it to your friends. If you have not saved manually, you're going to have to play everything from Lincoln to where you were again. At least that's the way that it happened for me. I don't know if it will be changed or if it's something that I didn't understand, but yeah, that felt a bit scary. So there are probably a bit like a few autosaves that are supposed to be there in case you make a mistake. But I would just advise you, although there's no reason to manually save, as you know, there's an autosave system, so that's what it's for. But it's a safer bet if you know that maybe you're going to be showing like previous parts of the game to people who come over at your house. So you can see the big difference here. I don't think I need to point out vegetation is lush. There's also SSR or cube maps that do the job very well. There's no ray tracing, obviously. I don't think the engine supports it just yet, maybe in the future, and it looks like just a different game. Well, and at the same time you feel right at home. I mean, you recognize the place. There's no way you can say that it's not faithful to the original, and my only grudge, and I'll be showing this maybe later also in the video, but is with the shadows again. So like happened in The Last of Us Part 2, but it was there was less sun in The Last of Us Part 2 due to the fact that it was set in Seattle and it was a lot rainy, and also Uncharted 4, actually go back to Uncharted 4. I mean, the game even looks today amazingly beautiful, but but the shadows, when they're a bit distant, they're not too distant here, but still they're pixelated. This, they're kind of shimmering, and it's it's a bit distracting when you spot this, because the rest looks so incredible. Now it looks incredible, but it does not look any different from The Last of Us Part 2, as I believe that some of the assets, couldn't tell you, like the proportion of assets that were taken from The Last of Us Part 2, but I would say that probably a lot of the assets that you see here are assets from the sequel. Actually makes sense, and it's also why the project could be done so quickly, and could be done with, as far as I know, 2 other new projects being carried out by the rest of the team. So it's just a bit strange in a way that Sony would not release this on PlayStation 4, as I see no reason why it would not run on PlayStation 4. I mean, clearly not here. We're running the game in performance mode, and I'll switch to fidelity mode. Don't worry. But The Last of Us Part 2 on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro, looked incredible, and it played very well, and it ran very smooth. So there's no reason why this would not run on the PS4, I believe. It's an odd choice, especially because it's so difficult to find a PlayStation 5 that it would actually allow to sell more games. It's maybe DF will have an answer for that, but pretty sure they too think it's a shame it's not on PlayStation 4, because it could. So let's continue. Let's try to speed things up a little bit. Tell you the truth, I had to record this again, so this is my second time, because I messed up somehow, and this is what happens when you do things on your own and you don't manage. So I know there are things to loot here. There are 2 clickers. I know that. Believe me, I know the game. Maybe not every single hiding place or things that I can find. There's a new depth of field effect here. It's a bit too abrupt to my liking, like the way it appears, but it was not there at the time. You can see here now the button prompts we have. They're not they're like black and white, like in Part 2. They're not green, like the green triangle and things like that. And actually that's part of the things that have changed, is that they've made things to look on par with Part 2, the way they designed some of the HUD and the backpack, also the way it works and everything. The bench also that you use, that before you would just see Joel put down his backpack, and then it was basically just a menu to upgrade the weapons. Now it's exactly like in Part 2. You can see him modify the weapons and clean them and everything. It's not something that I guess people needed, but it's there, and it looks more realistic as a result. So here we're still running the game in performance mode. Performance mode is dynamic 4K, although I would say that it's probably never 4K, or almost never, as the game, the image looks very soft. So I would say it's 1440p, as Sony told us that you can also set up your PlayStation 5 to 1440p, and then the game plays at 1440p. So my guess is just like the Uncharted 4 remaster and the Last of Us 2, when it was running on PlayStation 5, they were running it. So I know there are things to pick up there also, but I'm not really playing. I'm just showing you. It must be 1440p most of the time, and it looks nice. It's just that if you compare to the fidelity mode, where it's supposed to be native 4K, and actually shows the difference. Shows especially when you have a bit of a draw distance and you look at buildings, and you can see a little more aliasing in the performance mode, and it's much sharper in fidelity mode. But you have to trade the FPS, so it's 30 FPS on a regular TV. But if you have VR display, then you can run the game at 40 hertz, and so it's 40 FPS. I'm not too fond of the mode, I have to say, and it's not because of The Last of Us Part 1. It's exact same feeling I have when I try the game in 40 hertz with Forbidden West or even Ratchet and Clank, is that sometimes it feels smooth and smoother than 30, but usually when you move the camera right and left, I don't know. I don't know if it's my eyes, I don't know if it's me, but I see like things that I don't truly see even at 30 FPS. Like it seems not as smooth as I'd liked it to be. I don't know if I was hoping it would be magical. Maybe that's why I'm disappointed. But it's there at launch. The option is there at launch. I think it's great that we can enjoy this, and you have to wait a few more months, like for Forbidden West, for example. But it's a mode that I tend to switch back. When I played this remake, I kept switching back and forth, and just sometimes I felt like, okay, this is a bit too soft. Let's switch to fidelity, and you can see that the building right in front of me is much sharper. The bricks, you can see them much more easily. It doesn't seem to change anything else. I mean, the shadows are the same. They're not better looking or anything. But now, obviously, when you move the camera around, it's 30 FPS, so it might be a shock when you go from 60 to 30. It's more cinematic, mind you. A lot of people say that, and it actually cracks me up. In a way it is, but I don't mind 30 FPS when it's done right, and it's done right here, just like it was done right when playing The Last of Us Part 2 on PlayStation 4 Pro. I start speaking French and English, so that's not going to be easy for you to understand. So I'll continue a little bit in the fidelity mode, and you can see the sort of flickering shadows here, especially as I move. Even when not moving actually happens. It's just that it's more distracting maybe when you move. But I'll show you another sequence that after the sewers in the last third of the game maybe. And so one difference also with the original is that when you pick up a magazine or a piece of paper like this, before it just opened up the menu, and then you could read the message in the menu, and now it's just like in part 2, Joel takes the document in his hand and you can read it. And this actually is going to lead us to show you another thing is in the past, when you found the combination of a safe, all you had to do is go back to the safe and Joel would open it immediately. Now you have to actually input the digits, the numbers, which takes a little bit more time. I'm not too sure. It's neither good nor bad, right? It's as in The Last of Us Part 2. So when you start with this game, if you've never played the series before, and then you go to you complete it, and then you want to play the sequel, I mean, you're not going to feel things have changed, and there are other things like that. So what was it? I was 7. I know, I can't remember. 21 was the last one. 17. So it's not 7, right? No, it's not 7. It's lower than 7. Yeah. And to think that in my first try at the video, I managed. So not to Bob, is it? 5. Why 7? 5. So 17:21. Come on, I want to be quick. Don't want to speak for too long. But I'm sure YouTube will never be able to process the video on time. Or you have 2 that are processing as I speak, and I'm not sure they will be. We're hours and hours ahead of the end of the embargo, and still I'm sure I'm going to have to put links to the website so people on YouTube can see the 4K versions. So yeah, things like that change a little bit. And there's also the QTE sometimes that look now, the QuickTime events, they look exactly like in the sequel. For example, when you have to bring back the light somewhere, it's designed a bit differently visually, but it's just the same. You play exactly the same, so it doesn't make much of a difference. And there's the bow that we're going to see that is probably the biggest change in terms of gameplay. So here there's a locked door, but because it's not my own save, my own game. It's I just loaded a chapter. I don't have a shiv, so not going to be able to force it open. But we're going to be able to see the. And since I'm recording this for the second time, and there's the the famous sequence where Joel is hanging and he has to protect himself first, but then Ellie. This went very smoothly during the first recording. Actually, it was pretty good, I would say. I dare say. But this is going to go terribly wrong, I'm sure now. But yeah, I didn't have time to edit anything because the video is so big. So there's DualSense features that you feel like here. That was rumble. I don't think it's a game changer. I mean, it's a lot less impressive and interesting than in games like Returnal or even GT7. It's there, but yeah, I don't know if I'm disappointed or if I'm just getting used to it. And so, but the thing is, back when I played Forbidden West and I was covering the game in time for the review, and I was playing the PlayStation 4 version and also the PlayStation 5. When going back to the PlayStation 4 version, I would feel it, something was missing, and the controller was not as let's say immersive as the DualSense, and in Gran Turismo 7 too. Here, playing the remake and then the remaster, where there was no specific features for the DualSense, didn't really feel any different. So it's probably more precise. So I was saying that the bow also is used differently now. You can see that before there was the trajectory you could see and never found it was very, very easy or precise. Here, at the time you pressed L2 and then pressing R2, you could shoot. Here, pressing L2 is just you drawing the bow to aim, but then you have to hold, and there's a resistance. So this is pretty cool. You have to hold R2, and then you release when you're ready. And there's also, you can see there's a indication to help you when the target is a bit further. And so obviously I missed, but I one-shotted her before. I say her because I think it's a woman, maybe it's not. And I've used the bow a lot more in my playthrough on PlayStation 5 on the remake than ever before, because again, I think it's a lot more precise. It's also a lot more satisfying the way you use it. And though it does not look exactly like the bow we have in part 2, because I think it's a different sort of bow. I'm not a bow expert, so I couldn't tell you for sure, but just the way Joel holds the bow is different, that's for sure. But the thing is, okay, so no swapping. It's I remember that in part 2 I used the bow a lot, and in the original game, in the first one, back in 2013, I quickly abandoned the idea because for me it didn't do it. I mean, I know a lot of people played with it, I had no problem with it, but I didn't find they didn't find it very precise, and so I ended up not using it very much. My problem here is that I lacked arrows sometimes, but I wanted to use it, especially against clickers. It was a very effective way to save my shiv and keep the shiv for forcing my way, forcing doors open. So I was able to get access to more loot. Even though, because I was much more cautious when playing this again, like 10 years later, even though I played, I think, it 2 times on PlayStation 3 and probably once on PlayStation 4. But some sequences I dreaded a lot more than I should have, because it went a lot more smoothly this time, because I was so ready, because I was saving so much ammo. I was saving my health kit a lot, like I'm not using and playing in hard mode, not using the listening mode, which I really advise you should deactivate, even if it's your first time playing the game, as I believe it sort of ruins the experience to know exactly where the enemies are, like in the other games. So there's more tension and more pressure on you, and it's a lot more realistic also. And so that's we're off to a bad start, because that's something that I didn't miss the first time, but okay, that's at least 1 that I got right, and 2. Oh, this is not going to be, this can get too short. Yeah, as long as I don't get killed by the clicker, we should be good. Right, turned on the light, because that's always what I do when I clench on the controller. No. I'm too tensed. They should not put the flashlight on the L3 R3 button. It should have been on the D-pad. Maybe there's a way to actually change it. I should check it out, because in any game this is what happens. When the flashlight is on on the right thumbstick, I end up like turning it on every time I shoot, and off and off and on and off, and it looks ridiculous. Stop moving. Not so bad, except for the fact that I got shoot. That's not the one to miss. The head. Oh no, Ellie. Oh, no way. And as far as I remember, there's no way to only play the second part again. So this was bound to happen. It went very well the first time. Oh, no, there's a checkpoint. So that's fine. So there was no checkpoint.
Just hurry! Hurry, they're getting closer.
Takes so much time to reload. And it's meant to be this way, but still.
Ellie, they're getting close.
Okay, that was not too bad.
Hey, over here.
No. I usually aim for the head, but okay. So thank you, checkpoint. Thank you, checkpoint, because this was not going so well. Thank you, Bill. It's a bit of a scripted moment. Sometimes the NPCs get in the way, like your allies. Can be a bit awkward. Okay. Let's take the other gun. I'm going to light him up.
Take them out. That's our only way through. Ellie, stay back. Stay back.
Oh, come on. I was using my pipe.
All right. Come on, we're almost there. Follow.
Okay, let's heal a little bit. Although this is over. I mean, the sequence is over, so should be fine.
God damn it, they're coming over.
Let's just go back to performance mode, as I'm sure a lot of people are yelling. Why are you staying in fidelity mode? You can see the cutscene. As cutscenes look a lot more better than before. And they used to be pre-rendered, and they're real time now. And the character faces and facial animations, there are much more details, a lot more details.
Hey, what are you, Joel?
And then we'll end with a final sequence that is set after the sewers with Sam and Henry, as I want to show you the shadow problem one last time before I conclude. But yeah, what I can say, because of lost track of time and what I said before, is it's a game for newcomers. Obviously, if you've never played the game, you should not hesitate. It's the best way to enjoy it now, and the original looks everything looks flat in comparison, like the lighting and everything, the assets, the graphical assets, and so it's the way that it should be played now, especially if you want to play part 2 after this one. Now, if you have already played it, now the question is, do you want to play it again? If you do, because you're a big fan, well, then sure, do it. Just try to find the game at a cheaper price than €80 or dollars, because it's a lot of money for a video game, and there's always a way to find places where games are not as expensive as this. Now, if you don't feel like playing it again, or you're interested in just taking a look at the visuals, just check out a YouTube video, and that will be more than enough for you to realize the amount of work they've put into it. Although, yeah, sure, they could have pushed their hardware much further, and I'm sure that the next projects we'll see will be a lot more impressive. But come on, I mean, if every game that came out or that will come out, even this end of year, looked this good, people would be happy, and there would be no reason to complain, really. So it's let's not be too nitpicky. It's just it's a remake. It's not a remaster of a remaster, and people who say that just know nothing about video games and the way they're developed and the way they look and the tech behind them. So let me try and pause this so we can go to the last section I wanted to show you. Hopefully it will work, because that's when I screwed up at my first try. So we go again. This apparently is working, so let's hope it does stay this way. This is, like I said, a place where you're going to be able to see a bit more flickering shadows, not because I want to, again, criticize Naughty Dog and say they didn't do a good job or anything, but it's because it's one of the issues I think that maybe comes with the engine in its current state. And remember that this actually is, other than the fact that, yeah, sure, when it runs in fidelity mode, it's 4K 30, which could never be achieved on PlayStation 4 or even PlayStation 4 Pro, and that here it's dynamic 4K 1440p most of the time, I would say, and 60 FPS, which is impossible on old gen machines. But that said, it's I don't think it's a game that pushes the hardware as much as it will be able to. They will be able to do it in the future. So here you can see the flickering shadow. When you don't move, you can see that even on the wall here. I'll show you maybe yeah, there. But you can see here when you move the camera, when you move the character, you're going to be like changing moving shadows, and that it's a bit distracting what happens. But you have to look for them too. It's not going to be in your face all the time. Here also you can see that on the house, it's a bit pixelated, and obviously because the game looks so incredible outside of this is not looking too pretty when you spot it. And yeah, it's my main regret in terms of visuals. But it's also a problem that happened in The Last of Us Part 2. It's just that because of the location and the weather most of the time, you didn't quite see it as often, I would say. I'm going to show you the bench to finish, so that yes, you can see that now it's actually, you go smoothly from gameplay to showing Joel actually interact with the guns, and that you're going to see the modifications he adds, but then again, it's not new. It's something that was in part 2, but it's been added to part 1 so that it feels more like a whole, like I said before. So yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. If you have questions, you can ask in the comments on the website, on the channel. Be sure to let me know if there's anything I forgot to say, or I forgot to mention. And I know that it's not as maybe as efficient as a real review like I did in French, with edited footage and like something more written, something more organized. But it's really everything, all I could do, because it's it's a lot of work, and we've always tried to, even though it's not our day job, we've always tried to do our best so that what we do does not look so different in terms of quality, even in the writing, especially in French, obviously, as it's our mother language. But do our best to make it so that when you go to a professional website and you go to Gamerside, you don't really feel there's a difference in terms of quality, whether it's the quality of the videos. Obviously, that's something that meant a lot for us, and for some people back in the days, a lot less now, even for the publishers, as they only release their big trailers on YouTube now, and it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, it's something that we can't fight YouTube, and the community has been pretty scarce lately on the website, and even on YouTube it's pretty quiet. When you see the number of subscribers, it's not a lot, but there's never that many views anyway. So unless it's sometimes a Nintendo Switch video, when we have the right to show a game in advance, that usually brings a lot of people. But don't even think they're people from they're from the community. They're just people from Resetro or other places where a link has been posted, and that's why people come. And yeah, that is also why it's not always very motivating to prepare some English content and to prepare any content at all, to be honest. But I don't want to sound like to sound too whiny or anything. It's just really appreciate the gift I've been given to to be able to cover games for more than 15 years now, and to just do my best to share my feelings about them, and to show also their beauty as much as possible. So for that, one last fidelity mode overview, quick overview of the place, and obviously it's a lot sharper when you don't move, and well, thank you all for watching. I think that's it, and I hope you'll be happy with what I've done for you. And if not, if this is too boring to listen to me blabber about the game, just check out the other videos I've posted that are not in French. There's a screenshot video, a comparison video that I think is pretty interesting. There's also a side-by-side. It's not the best side-by-side video ever, But I was also running a bit short of time, so that's why it had to go out this way. And there's also a gameplay video that probably is more available on the website than on YouTube. It's probably on YouTube processing, but it will probably appear a bit later, as I'm sure I won't be able to have all the videos in 4K. And this one you're actually watching, it will probably be available in 1080p only on YouTube, and sadly I cannot put it on Gamerside because the original file is so huge that it would just destroy everything. So that's it for me now. It was Driftwood speaking for Gamerside, talking about The Last of Us Part 1, and well, I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Bye bye.